Hi everyone.
Hello.
Right, so today we're gonna be reacting to the other half of the ACLU moron that is Terrance Dougherty. So yeah, should we get right back into it?
Yeah.
Yes. If you see me fiddling about, it's because I'm checking the audio.
One, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
Oh, Ben with the sweetie.
This is a series of communications among people in our communications department around engaging
Bear in mind, I
Amber
don't change.
on our programmatic work, specifically relating to...
I don't change the volume between recording unless it's like on a new day, like a new trial day. But just every time it seems like it's getting quieter and quieter, and I'm like, why?
to her being an ACLU ambassador.
Let's now turn back to the email starting on ACLU 47. Bottom of the page from Gary Johnson to Jody Gottlieb and others.
Yeah.
Reportedly dated November 6, 2018. Who's Jerry Johnson?
Jerry Johnson was a more junior person in our communications department. His title was Communications Department Strategist. And strategists are often communications department associates that have expertise in and do work in a select number of our issue areas.
Okay, he writes, I'd like your and Amber's thoughts on doing an op-ed in which she discusses the ways in which survivors of gender-based violence have been made less safe under the Trump administration and how people can take action. Why was the ACLU recommending that Amber write on that subject?
Exactly.
With Amber...
Also, didn't he say that he had nothing to do with that?
Yep.
That's why I was confused yesterday. I was like, I'm sure he did. I'm sure there's communications between the ACLU and that whole debacle.
Agreeing to be an ambassador and to work on women's rights issues and in particular issues of gender-based violence. Jerry was coming up with specific things that were of significant policy importance to the ACLU that could be the subject matter of an op-ed written by Amber.
Directing your attention a few lines down.
Hang on. So the ACLU is also at fault?
Yeah.
Because they specified the topic. I mean, Amber also tries to claim that she never wrote it, despite her name being on it. So, I mean...
He uses the acronym GBV. What does that mean?
Gender-based violence.
Then further down, he says, if she feels comfortable, she can interweave her personal story, saying how painful it is as a GBV survivor to witness these setbacks. What is the ACLU referring to when it talks about a personal story?
There were a number of things that Amber had expressed from her personal story about her having been a survivor of gender-based violence. So one of the things that we do with ambassadors is we want them to tell authentic stories about our issues in the public, and to the extent that they have any personal direct experiences, for that to be part of their story for the public.
So the ACLU was not forcing her to relate her own experience with GBV. It was leaving it up to Ms. Heard's discretion, correct?
Correct.
And Exhibit 31 was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And it was maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
Let's move to Exhibit 33, please. Mr. Dougherty, asking you to please look at Exhibit 33 and ask whether you've ever seen this before.
I have.
See the email from Robin Schulman to Jessica Weitz, dated November 14th at 10:58 a.m.?
Yes.
Who is Jessica Schulman?
Robin Schulman is a person in the communications department who is no longer with us, but who had expertise in issues involving gender issues.
Well, you anticipated my next question is, Robin Schulman still at the ACLU?
No.
Or they just
is she an attorney?
No, I'm confused.
I don't know whether she's an attorney. A number of our communications department staff members are, but I don't know. She wasn't working as an attorney.
Ms.
Well, then
Schulman is
it sounds
asking
like
Ms.
you
Weitz,
misgendered
what's the status of this situation? What situation was she referring to?
The situation is whether we are going to be doing an op-ed with Amber.
Okay, and moving up on the page, there's an email from Jerry Johnson who says, quote, Jess had drinks with Amber last night, and it sounds like she was able to confirm with her that we'll be doing the first draft.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It is often a decision has to be made when we're working with ambassadors or with other people who are speaking to the public, who does the first draft of the document. So it sounds here that Jerry is saying that that from Jess's conversation with Amber, we are moving forward with some kind of an op-ed, and that ACLU communications department staff members would be writing the first draft of it.
And Jess refers to Jessica Weitz?
Yes.
Okay, let's please turn to Exhibit 35, please. Have you ever seen this document before, Mr. Dougherty?
And yes, I have seen this document. Thanks, Michael. I didn't.
And what is it?
This is a series of communications about the. It's the result of a series of communications about the op-ed that Amber, under Amber's name, took place with a media outlet. And so this is Jessica Weitz sending a draft of that to Amber.
Great. And let's go to the first email first, the email that starts in the second half of ACLU 185. It purports to be from Robin Schulman to Jessica Weitz on November 29. Do you see that?
I do.
And is she attaching the first draft of the op-ed to that email?
So I assumed that it was not an attachment, but it was just pasted into an email, but I can't tell from this. I don't see anybody saying attached, so it could be either. But what I see this as is Robin sending a note to Jess Weitz for Jess Weitz to then forward to Amber.
Understood. Robin says, I tried to gather your fire and rage and really interesting analysis and shape that into an op-ed form. What does that refer to?
That refers to the effort for our ACLU ambassadors to speak publicly in a way that is impactful, that is shows the importance of the issues and how important they are personally to individuals. And in this case, therefore, Amber's passion for working on gender-based violence issues and speaking about it, and that she has an analysis that is one that Robin finds interesting.
And so when she's referring to fire and rage, that's Ms. Heard's fire and rage, correct?
Yeah, that's my read of this, even though I recognize that it is confusing because it's an email from Robin to Jess.
And the rage would be directed against Johnny Depp, who purportedly abused her, correct?
I didn't take it to mean that. I took it to mean fire and rage about gender-based violence issues.
Was it your understanding that it was Robin Schulman who prepared the first draft of the op-ed?
Yes.
Okay. And Robin says to Jessica, your lawyers should review this for the way I skirted around talking about your marriage. Whose lawyers is she referring to there?
I believe these are Amber's regular advisors or who were involved in the review negotiation of the NDA between Amber and Johnny Depp.
And then if you look at, direct your attention to the top email from Jessica Weitz to Amber Heard. She says to Amber, apologies for the delay, but we have needed to pass this through quite a few lawyers. What lawyers did Jessica Weitz pass the op-ed through?
These were lawyers in the Women's Rights Project of the ACLU, plus the director of the Center for Liberty, the deputy legal director of the ACLU who runs the Center for Liberty, within which is the Women's Rights Project, and even the legal director of the ACLU who runs the whole legal department, our programmatic litigation work on behalf of civil liberties, David Cole.
But it never got to your level, correct?
Well, David Cole is at my level, just to be clear. He also reports to the executive director, but it never got to me or anybody on my team.
No one asked you to review the first draft of the op-ed.
No.
Did anybody ever ask you to review any drafts of the op-ed, including the final draft that was published in the Washington Post?
No.
She says, I want to make sure nothing was said in here that puts you in jeopardy with your NDA. What does that refer to?
The non-disclosure agreement that was entered into between Depp and Heard in connection with the dissolution of their marriage and the settlement agreement.
Okay, and is this a document that was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
All right, let's move please to Exhibit 37. Have you ever seen Exhibit 37 before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a draft of the op-ed that Robin is sending to Amber after a conversation that they had to discuss the issues in the op-ed, and in particular, to have a conversation about the op-ed, and then she sends her changes that were made to the op-ed that were relating to things that Robin and Amber discussed during that meeting.
And to be clear, this next draft of the op-ed reflects changes that Robin Schulman made after she met in person with Amber Heard. Is that correct?
Correct.
What did Ms. Schulman and Ms. Heard discuss during their in-person meeting?
My understanding is that they discussed some of the personal experiences that Amber Heard has had that Robin used to incorporate into the op-ed.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard's advisors initially revised the draft to remove any reference to Ms. Heard's marriage or divorce?
I recall a number of email communications back and forth among ACLU personnel and Ms. Heard's attorneys where they were suggesting edits to the op-ed relating to matters covered in the NDA.
And then isn't it also true that there were some at the ACLU who expressed their belief that excising those references to her marriage and divorce from Johnny Depp made the op-ed less impactful, correct?
It is correct. That is correct.
But ultimately, based on those voices, Ms. Heard pushed to get that excised material back into the op-ed so it could be more impactful, true?
That's not my understanding. My understanding is that the language that wound up in the final op-ed piece was very different from the original language that Robin included in the op-ed after having spoken with Amber about her personal experiences.
And how was it different?
It did not refer directly to Ms. Heard's relationship with Johnny Depp.
Okay, let's move ahead, please, to Exhibit 38.
Yes, sir, stand by.
What I find quite amusing is that I would really like to see the original draft.
Yeah.
Mr. Dougherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Because if what he's claiming is true, it's like, okay, how bad was it then? Because if it had to go through, the lawyers, it seems like quite a few rounds. And I mean, it could be because of Amber's insistence on having certain things in there. That's the reason why you could clearly tell us about Johnny, but we don't know the edit that they advised on versus the one that was actually released. That's kind of what I'm really quite curious about. You never know, maybe it'll be released eventually.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for your deposition?
Yes.
What does this relate to?
So this relates to Stacey Sullivan, who reported to Terry Tang and her role with respect to this op-ed piece was to think about the best place to place it and to make the contacts with the media in order to get it placed.
And she suggests here that the outlets that the ACLU and Ms. Heard was considering were the New York Times, the Washington Post, Team Vogue, and USA Today. Is that correct?
So not Stacy, but Jerry, who I think you said she, Jerry is a he, and Jerry wrote some suggested places to place this after having had conversations with Amber.
And Jerry's suggestions were the New York Times, Washington Post, Team Vogue, or USA Today. Is that correct?
Correct.
Whose responsibility was to place the op-ed? Was it the ACLU's, Ms. Heard's, or some combination of the two?
The work to place the op-ed was taken on by the ACLU in that we have in our communications department people with expertise and who regularly do just that kind of work. But as we can see from this email, it was done in consultation with Amber Heard.
And Mr. Johnson writes, since the draft turned out pretty strong and Aquaman slated to do large numbers, I'm wondering what you think about it. What does she mean by saying the draft turned out pretty strong?
This appears to be the analysis of how broad-based and how what kind of reach the media outlets where we can place this will have, and that media outlets are more likely to take on publishing an op-ed like this if it is a strong one, and if it is, and to the extent that it is written by a person who's an entertainer or a well-known person, that the more they are in the public eye at the time, the more likely it will be accepted by a more prominent or broader reach media outlet. And so that's the sort of descending media outlets are in descending terms in terms of descending, likelihood of, descending importance and reach, but greater likelihood from, for example, as we go down.
Amber's referencing her own direct personal experience and her marriage to Johnny Depp makes it a stronger product, correct?
I think that the Amber's contributions to the portion of the op-ed that talks about personal experiences is part of what informed the view that this was a strong.
This man is doing more sidestepping than a ballroom dancer. Like, what? It is. Just say yes. You're not being sued. He's not said he's coming after you. He's going after Amber because she's the one whose name's on it.
Yeah.
Like, huh? Jesus Christ, man.
Op-ed and the importance of the women's rights issues referred to in the op-ed, in that some of them were very timely women's rights issues before Congress.
And Ms. Heard had a co-starring role in Aquaman, correct?
I don't know whether she was a co-star, but I know that that was a film that she was in.
She was a supporting actress.
Yeah.
She was not a co-star.
Nope.
In fact, I think, what's his name? The guy from... I don't want to butcher his name. I got his name somewhere down here. The guy from the studio, was it Warner Brothers?
I think so.
I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Aquaman's Marvel? Marvel is Warner Brothers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's annoying that they're all under one brand now. One second. Sorry. I'll find it.
And didn't she tell the ACLU that she wanted the op-ed to come out just after Aquaman was released?
I do recall that there was a conversation about the optimal timing for the op-ed piece.
And as part of that conversation, Ms. Heard said in words or substance that she wanted the op-ed to come out soon after Aquaman, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Who did she relate that to?
I don't recall, although I believe that there are documents that we produced that can shed some light on that.
Is Exhibit 38 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared by people with knowledge and prepared in a contemporaneous manner?
Yes, it was.
And it was made in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, true?
True.
Okay, if we could move ahead, please, to Exhibit 41. This is another one of these, well, it's not that long.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Dougherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
These are further communications among employees, staff members in the development department regarding the placement of Amber's ad and the finalization of the op-ed piece. Not ad, I'm sorry, op-ed and the finalization of it.
Great, and if we could move ahead, please, to ACLU 257, and specifically the email from Robin Schulman to Jessica Weitz on December 11th, continuing on to the next, or strike that. Let's go to the email on the last line, Jessica Weitz's email. She says, team.
What's the timestamp? They're all with the timestamp on the email that you're referring to?
I'm sorry. This is December 11th email at 11:05 a.m.
Okay.
From Jessica Weitz. You see that? Okay, and she says, Amber sent back the op-ed with final edits from her legal team, which specifically neutered much of the copy regarding her marriage and the domestic violence. You see that?
I do.
Is that consistent with your recollection?
I'm not sure about the use of the term neutered here, but I do know that her lawyers removed references to her marriage and divorce.
And then she writes, the goal is to get this out this week to capitalize on the tremendous campaign for Aquaman. What does that mean?
That means, from the ACLU's perspective, that Amber is about to receive an incredible amount of press and be in the public eye. So what better a time would it be than now to put out this op-ed so that it generates significant readership about our issues?
And Amber agreed with the ACLU on that point, correct?
I believe the answer is yes. Every step of the way we were making these decisions with Amber's PR representatives involved.
Okay, let's move back to an email in the middle of 257.
Okay.
And it is from Jessica Weitz, timestamped 11:09 a.m. on December 11th, 2018.
Okay.
Robin, her lawyers omitted the below, but Amber would love to see a way to have that part in bold somehow put back in. Is there an artful way to do that? Otherwise, she is okay with the final. 2 years ago, I sought a temporary restraining order from my then husband. Ellipsis was changed to 2 years ago after successfully acquiring a temporary restraining order, but still not cleared by her lawyers. Do you see that?
I do.
Is that consistent with your understanding about what Ms. Heard's desires were?
Yeah, I trust Jessica White's relationship with Amber so that when Jessica told Robin that that was something Amber wanted, I have no reason to think that that's not correct.
Okay, and finally, let's look at the beginning. The first email in Exhibit 41 from Stacy Sullivan to Jessica Weitz says, yes, and I need to read the latest version. And Robin told me Amber's lawyers took out some of the stuff that made it really powerful. So let me look to see if I think it's strong enough for top tier. What did she mean by top tier?
I think from Stacy's perspective, the more powerful a document is, the more likely it will go into a top tier news outlet such as the New York Times or the Washington Post, you know, that sort of descending tiering that was in Jerry Johnson's email.
Okay. And is Exhibit 41 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business by people having knowledge and done so contemporaneously?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's move ahead to 43.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
The first page in Exhibit 43 from Jessica Weitz to Sean Walsh. Who is Sean Walsh?
Sean Walsh at www.rconsulting.com. I don't know who that is. This is an email that includes in it people other than ACLU employees and ACLU consultants. So I'm assuming it's somebody relating to, one of Amber's representatives, but I don't know for sure.
Do you know who Eric George is?
George, BGR firm. Yes, Eric George was one of Amber's attorneys.
And she's announcing to the group that it's going to the Washington Post a triple exclamation points.
Correct.
Take it the ACLU was pleased that it was placed in the Washington Post.
Correct.
And I believe you testified earlier, but I just want to confirm for the record, the ACLU took on the responsibility of attempting to place the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And why the ACLU instead of Amber or her PR team?
Placing op-eds about matters such as this is the kind of thing that is the bread and butter for the ACLU. And so I don't recall if a conversation happened about whether her PR people or our PR people should be in the ones that do the work to place this, but it is fully consistent with how we do our work that we placed this one.
All right, let's go back to Exhibit 42, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
With this document.
Have you ever seen this document before, Mr. Dougherty?
I am familiar with this document.
Is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for this deposition today?
Yes.
Was it made in the ordinary course of ACLU's business by people having knowledge and doing so contemporaneously?
Correct. Yes.
Was it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Would you please direct your attention, sir, to page number 1181. In the middle of the page purports to be an email from Stacey Sullivan, Michael Larrabee, and others at the Washington, well, I'll just say Michael Larrabee. Who is Michael Larrabee?
Michael Larrabee appears to be a person who was a contact that Stacey Sullivan had at the Washington Post. And so she reached out to him first about placing the ad. And then because she received a bounce back out of office from Mike Larrabee, she sent her original request to Michael Duffy and Mark Laswell, also at Washington Post.
And what was the purpose of her sending them this email?
This was her attempt to get the op-ed placed.
And she writes, "Hey, Michael, wondering if we might interest you in a piece by Amber Heard, who, as you may recall, was beaten up during her brief marriage to Johnny Depp, on what the incoming Congress can do to help protect women in similar situations." Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you read it correctly.
All right, let's look, please. Let's turn to Exhibit 73.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Okay, so I found the name. Walter Hamada. He's from Warner Brothers. He's like one of the top dudes. So between Amber's character Mira and Aquaman Jason Momoa, basically there was, so Amber's character was meant to be a supporting actress it's meant to be a supporting character with a love interest with Aquaman. Now, he actually speaks about this in his video deposition during the trial, which will be on day 21, so quite a way away. That there was so little chemistry that basically they had to edit as much as they could to make it look mildly flirtatious. And essentially Amber's own shit acting is the reason why they almost didn't pick her.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with anything that Adam Waldman said or any connection to Johnny Depp. None of that. I mean, they removed, I think, was Fantastic Beasts, was that with Warner Brothers? I think that was, wasn't it? Because it's with Harry Potter, and Harry Potter is not Disney. It's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, Warner Brothers got rid of Johnny Depp very, very quickly, so there was no allegiance there. I mean, they kept on that that idiot Ezra Miller who plays the Flash, and he's been charged. I think, at the very least, he's been arrested several times for assault and other shit.
Yeah.
And they've kept him on. So I mean, they're not above board with keeping abusers on. I mean, Amber's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, if she could act somewhat less like a rock and more like a person who has actual feelings, she might have had somewhat of a more successful chance in Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
I mean, they've pretty much stopped advertising for Aquaman 2, unless they've picked it up in the recent weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have. So yeah, anyway, sorry, back to this.
Dougherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
Is this the online copy of the op-ed that the ACLU placed?
Yes.
Directing your attention to the title, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. Who came up with that title?
Based on my investigation, I'm not aware of I'm not aware that the ACLU had any role in writing the name of the op-ed piece. And my understanding of how op-ed pieces work is that it is the media, in this case, the Washington Post, would have drafted the name of the title of the op-ed and not the person who wrote the op-ed.
Did the Washington Post seek the ACLU's or Ms. Heard's approval of its title?
I believe the answer to that is no. There's nothing in the evidence that shows that they reached out to us to do that, and it is inconsistent with my understanding in that these news outlets do not usually ask for the permission of the author of the op-ed for when they come up with a title.
Hello, Mr. Dougherty. Would you please, or would the technician please call up Exhibit 45?
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Dougherty, have you ever seen plaintiff's Exhibit 45, which is Bates number ACLU 623?
Hold on, I'm just making it a little bigger. Okay, yes, I have seen this document.
And is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for your deposition?
I need to ask a question. It doesn't seem normal what Amber is doing on her side of the bench.
No.
Where she's looking over stuff constantly.
Yeah.
It just seems like she doesn't trust her lawyers at all.
No.
Or that it's either she doesn't trust her lawyers or she just can't give up control.
Yeah. Well, Johnny's side, he's either sleeping, eating candy, or drawing pictures.
Exactly, or laughing at the testimony. Like
Yeah.
That's what is, I think, really confusing me with Amber's side. She's literally just sat there doing their work. Does she think she's a fucking lawyer now?
Probably.
Oh my lord, I wonder if...
I have a degree in bullshittery.
No. I wonder if Elaine, printed off from her fucking old ass computer. You know, when you could print off certificates like best mom and dad in the world.
Yeah.
Best lawyer's client in the world. Sorry.
That's correct.
And what is it?
This is an article that was in US Today and specifically ties Amber's statements in her op-ed piece to Johnny Depp.
And when Jessica White says so much for not mentioning JD, what did she mean?
I speculate that she was saying that there were significant efforts made by Amber's attorneys to take out the references to Johnny Depp and her marriage, and yet nonetheless, people made that connection.
And in particular, the reporter for the USA Today took her to be referring to Johnny Depp when she spoke of being the victim of domestic violence, correct?
Correct.
Was this document prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business contemporaneously by people having knowledge?
Yes, it was.
Is it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
And would you please move ahead now to Exhibit 46?
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Dougherty, have you ever seen Exhibit 46, which is ACLU page number 1287?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a statement by Robin Schulman saying that that the article that they're referring to basically, recasts everything that is said, but ties it to Johnny Depp.
So Ms. Schulman is agreeing with Mrs. White's characterization that the USA took Ms. Heard to be referring to her allegations of physical violence by Johnny Depp, correct?
Yes.
And she says it's kind of amazing that they just grabbed the entire op-ed and rewrote it using Johnny's name. Why was it amazing?
I don't know why she found it amazing.
Because that was consistent with your understanding. She was referring at least in part to Johnny Depp, correct?
Yeah, based on my review of prior drafts of the op-ed, I knew that there were that she was referring to Johnny Depp and her marriage.
Was Exhibit 46 prepared in the ordinary course of business by people having knowledge contemporaneously?
Yes.
Was it maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit 59, please, which is base numbers ACLU 2614 through 2616.
Okay.
Have you ever seen this document before?
Just going to the beginning. Yes.
And what is it?
This is a conversation among ACLU employees regarding what were the amounts contributed to the ACLU that were connected to our relationship with Ms. Heard.
And is this Exhibit 59 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
And it was prepared contemporaneously by people with knowledge in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And looking at the chart on ACLU 2615, this is the same contributions chart that you testified about earlier from Salesforce, correct?
Correct.
And again, as in the prior exhibit, this chart or ledger does not reflect the $100,000 contribution from Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's name in August of 2016, correct?
Correct.
And you still can't account for why that wouldn't have been included.
We assume that there was an error made in not including that in Ms. Heard's account, where we keep the records of her in Salesforce. Although Anthony, as you see, then raised the very question, what about the $100,000?
Hang on a fucking minute. That's not what they said earlier.
Nope.
Huh? I need to look this up. Where is it? They got divorced in... The whole thing was agreed on December 2016. This is August. Also, where's the 100,000 that Johnny donated?
Yeah, that's a good question. And they didn't say it was.
Huh?
Where does it say? Is it anonymous?
Well, no. This is the thing. So the soft credit was from Vanguard. No, wait.
Yeah, it was Vanguard, and 350 was from.
And this one was from Fidelity, which there's no paperwork. They've not received any paperwork to confirm that that is Amber Heard. It's just her saying it's her payment.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, this one, the 11th of December 2018. This payment here, I believe, was in reference with Elon Musk, with an email thread with Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
For some fucking reason, he was involved. So this doesn't make any fucking sense. Where's the 100,000? Why has this been accredited as a pledge payment when, like, it doesn't matter if sorry, it doesn't matter if she said in August or wherever, before the divorce was finalized, I'm going to be donating all of my divorce settlement, because it wasn't confirmed at that point. I don't think they got divorced in December 2016. So how can she make a pledge payment before she's been paid? Like, what? I'm confused. And that wasn't brought up before, was it?
No.
No, it might have been. Was it? Because they said... So this jabroni here, this little weasel, was saying that she's donated 1.3 million. So with the extra 100,000 that's not here, it would be 1.3. It's just, this is very confusing.
And directing your attention to the first page in this exhibit, do you see
This is why I
the
don't
email
work
from
with
Mr. Romero to
finances.
Mr. Moresco? Subject, a quick question. Mr. Romero asked, did Elon's other gifts come from Vanguard? To what does that refer?
My personal knowledge is that Anthony was just asking whether other gifts from Elon Musk had been issued from recommendations he made to Vanguard regarding his donor advised fund at Vanguard.
And Mr. Moresco then responds, one of them, yes. His $5 million gift in February 2017 was from Vanguard. Do you see that?
I see it.
And if you look at the next page, Vanguard was the same entity that made the soft credit contribution in Amber Heard's name to the tune of $500,000, correct?
Correct.
And he says, in any case, my understanding was that the $500,000 from Vanguard was recommended by EM. Do you see that?
Yes.
And EM stands for Elon Musk, correct?
Correct.
And also in that email above that, Mr. Moresco states that Mr. Musk's $1 million gift in May 2018 was from Fidelity. Do you see that?
Yes, he must have, either that means a separate donor advised fund he has at Fidelity, or from Fidelity, in direct investment accounts he has at Fidelity. I'm assuming the former, but I don't know.
And if you look at the next page in the Salesforce chart, the second payment credited to Ms. Heard for $350,000 as of December 11th, 2018, came from that same Fidelity, correct?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that it came from a Fidelity donor advised fund, the $350,000, but I don't know if it is Elon Musk's donor advised fund at Fidelity.
But it could be.
It could be.
Okay, let's move, thank you, on to 61, please. which is base number ACLU 1669.
I bet he's just sat there like, what the fuck did she spend $7 million on? She can't drink that much wine, surely.
Little did he know.
I mean, she should be buying it wholesale at this point, save herself the middleman.
Yeah.
Just buy a vineyard and just have it plugged to her veins.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
So, basically...
The only money that has been donated towards Amber's $3.5 million pledge to the ACLU is the $100,000 that Johnny put there. She's not donated a fucking penny. So that's it's like, what did she spend it on?
Oh yeah.
God. I hope she's embarrassed, but then again, I don't think she has that much self-awareness to be embarrassed.
Nope.
Through 71. Directing your attention to the last email in this exhibit from Jill Sargent to Inga Sarda Sorensen and Tyler Richard. Who were Inga Sarda Sorensen and Tyler Richard?
Inga and Tyler are both senior communications department strategists in our communications department.
Okay. And Ms. Sargent from Reuters asked, I'm preparing some material while awaiting a verdict in the Johnny Depp libel trial in London and wanted to fact check Amber Heard's current previous links with the ACLU. Do you recall that Mr. Depp's that this is a reference to Mr. Depp's defamation case in the UK against the Sun?
It appears to me that that's the trial she's referring to.
Okay, directing your attention, please, to page number ACLU 1670, the email from Jessica Whites to Tyler Richards. Do you see where Ms. Whites writes, the answer is yes, she's still an ambassador. That's a reference to Ms. Heard still being an ACLU ambassador, correct?
Correct.
Then Ms. Whites writes, quote, she donated her full settlement to charity, 50% to the ACLU and 50% to another organization. That's a reference to Ms. Heard's representation that she donated the full amount of her divorce settlement from Johnny Depp to charity, correct?
Correct.
And that statement was not true. She had not donated the full amount of her settlement, $7 million, to the ACLU or the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, correct?
At the time that Jess Whites wrote this in July of 2020, Ms. Heard had not donated her full settlement to the ACLU, and I'm not aware of what she did to the other organization.
At the time Ms. Whites wrote that, the ACLU was still $2.2 million short, even if you credit Ms. Heard with the $100,000 that Johnny Depp gave to the ACLU. Correct?
At the time that she wrote this, we had received the 1.3, so yes, 2.2 million of the full 3.5 million we had not received.
Was Exhibit 61 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the business for people having knowledge?
So basically we mute because we have like a fan on, don't want it going on either side, plus my chair likes to creak. But hang on.
Heard with the $100,000 that Johnny Depp gave to the ACLU. Correct?
At the time that she wrote this, we had received the 1.3, so yes, 2.2
Fiddling with the fingers,
million
trying to keep
of the
them
full
calm.
3.5 million we had not received.
Scratch the
Oh, and like, he's like personally, he's like, please stop asking me questions about this. I've heard what she's done. She'll kill me.
It's like also the thing is correcting the neck, you know.
Wait, he's scratching his neck. It's like a
nervosity. It's like also he's corrected, you know, the throat around the throat, you know.
Hang on, have you noticed his tie?
Yeah.
It's become substantially tighter and a little bit more messy.
Yeah. Someone is getting very nervous.
Yes. It kind of seems like, I mean, I'm getting the complete impression that just from what we're hearing from this, I keep calling him a weasel because that's what he just reminds me of. He's one of those brown noses at work. You just want to smack in the face and be like, stop kissing up to the boss, it's weird. But anyway, not that you would actually do that, nor that you should. But Yeah, I'm just getting the impression that they were trying to cover for Amber
Oh yeah.
in the hopes that she would pledge it, because it's like, see, we had your back, now you owe us. You
Yeah.
owe us that money. You said you were going to donate it. If you don't donate it, then we're going to tell everyone that you didn't donate anything.
Mm.
Because at this point, during this trial, wasn't Amber still an ambassador
Yeah.
for them?
Yeah. She was.
And she's no longer now, right?
No.
Well, she's no longer an ambassador for L'Oreal either, which was quite funny.
Exhibit 61,
Sorry,
kept in the
rule me
ordinary
again.
course of the ACLU's business.
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the business by people having knowledge contemporaneously?
Yes.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit 62, please. Have you seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is Jessica White's reaching out to the communications department in order to come up with a correct statement that we could make in response to the Reuters article. And she comes up with recommended language on this that she then wants to confirm with our development department. So she is doing diligence to ensure that anything we say to the media is going to be correct.
All right. Let's move ahead to Exhibit 63. Do you have that in front of you?
I'm just making it larger right now. It just arrived.
You ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is back and forth between Richard Tyler in the communications department, Jessica White, and another communications department junior person.
Squirm,
Lena
little man,
Lopez.
squirm.
And it all concerns what we can say to, what we should say to
Someone is
Reuters
feeling
in
very,
response
very
to-
uncomfortable at the moment. I can see
Oh, yeah.
the tense way he's sitting and yeah, like
We're not body language experts, but if I were to see this, like, if I was looking in from a meeting room window and I saw someone sitting exactly like he is whilst they're talking, I'm like, ooh, you're explaining some behaviour that you shouldn't have done.
yeah.
You're explaining a series of emails that you should not have sent.
their question about Amber and her contributions to the ACLU.
And this was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And it was prepared and maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, true?
True. Correct.
Let's look at the second page of the exhibit, an email from
Oh.
Tyler Richard to Jessica White. Who is Tyler Richard?
It seems like he was not aware of all of these documents that were sent to them.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, I hope they don't get to that picture I sent. Ooh.
It's Richard Tyler, and no, it's Tyler Richard. That's right, Tyler Richard, and he is a senior person in our communications department.
And Mr. Richard says Amber Heard is an ACLU ambassador for women's rights since 2018. She also pledged her full settlement to charity. Do you see that?
I do.
I'm getting quite a feeling.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You go.
I get quite a feeling that he has said yes to a few documents he'd not seen before to cover tracks.
Yeah, I kind of got it. I'm kind of getting the impression that because his face is looking awfully red,
Oh yeah.
but that could just be the video quality. It wasn't that red before, and his hand's not that red.
He's getting more and more tensed, and yeah.
It kind of seems like like in Jurassic Park, is it the Diplosaurus, the ones with the.
Yeah.
That's kind of seems like what he's doing. Like he's like what cats do when they feel threatened, they puff up their fur.
Yeah.
Like that's what he seems like he's trying to do.
Yeah.
So he's like you said, he said yes to a bunch of emails that he's never seen before, and he's realizing, oh shit, they've said this and I didn't know that they said that.
Yeah.
It's almost as if he's beginning to realize he is an obsolete cog in the machine.
Yeah.
So they've put him as like a representative for the ACLU because they don't give a shit whether or not he fucks up, because they'll just cut ties with him if he does.
They're throwing.
They're literally, he's the scapegoat.
Yeah.
I don't really feel bad for him, because if you haven't seen the email, you shouldn't say that you have. But then again, why would you be getting uncomfortable this late into the whole thing? He's been going since 9 a.m.
Yeah.
It's 20 past 4. Why are you now only getting uncomfortable?
Yeah,
like,
it's like by this time you will be kind of mellow and tired of this. Like,
you just be answering the questions. Like, if you've done nothing wrong, you would just answer the questions.
Yeah, sit back, relax, and especially not be...
Not necessarily relax, but...
yeah.
Like, it's kind of like that... It's not arrogance, it's just confidence in someone who knows that they've done nothing wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you almost find it a bit comical, because it's like, oh yeah, did I? Where's the evidence then? Oh wait, you don't have any because I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just exactly how I used to feel with my parents. I used to laugh when they would accuse me of doing stuff, because I would know full well that I hadn't done anything. They'd be like, how did you get to that conclusion? Well, your brother said he saw you. Did Tom fail to mention that I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks? Did that slip his mind? Oh, so you did do it? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you're full of shit. But like, I would find it funny, and I think I would find this whole thing funny as well, which is probably why I'm not in that sector.
Yeah.
And Ms. White's response, yeah, I think that's safer. I had nightmares about this last night. I'm very upset. Do you think this is okay? Why was Ms. White so upset?
Sorry. Of course you had nightmares. You put out a public statement saying she had paid it. Johnny's like, these people, man, fucking hell. Sorry, I can't. Oh, fucking Nora. Ah, Jesus Christ.
Upset about the characterization of Ms. Heard's charitable donations or lack thereof.
My understanding is that as a communications department professional, Jessica was concerned about these news articles that were appearing and what impact they would have on, how the ACLU and its work with Amber is seen.
She was concerned that the ACLU was not telling the truth about Amber's paying the $3.5 million, correct?
I don't see it that way. I see it as her doing everything she can in order to produce a correct statement to the press.
But she didn't provide a correct statement.
Nope.
Hang on. Did she say that Amber had pledged or that she had paid?
I think she said paid. It sounded like, looked like she said paid.
I wonder if she must have said paid. That's why she's so nervous, because she knows Amber hasn't paid it.
Well, yeah. Well, look at John.
As I say, I'm very good at pausing. I have a particular set of skills, screen grabs.
Wouldn't the correct statement to the press be?
I think he's just
that
finding
she's
it
short,
funny.
$2.3 million?
As I testified earlier, that's not the kind of thing that we would ever say about a donor to the ACLU. Instead, we would, especially when it isn't the fact that there's any specific time period by which we were supposed to have received, any specific amount of money, considering that she didn't sign the pledge agreement, and therefore,
getting uncomfortable for him.
There's an attempt. So, as an organization, we attempt to work with our donors who are having financial difficulties in order to receive, the funding from them that they want to give to us. So no, I don't see this. I don't know. We would, in that sort of scenario, we would never say
knows that
she's
the
short
company is
anything.
throwing him under the bus.
Look at the person. He's like, get Jessica on the phone now. But what she could have said is that if she didn't want to lie, but also didn't want to throw Amber under the bus, she could have said Amber is continuing to financially, as well as within her responsibilities as an ambassador for the ACLU, she is continuing that both of these, whatever, however you want to word it. Just saying that she's continuing.
Yeah.
It didn't say that she's paid it, because she fucking hasn't. What? No wonder she's fucking upset and had nightmares. Because you lied. Just say she's continuing to support the ACLU both with her financial contributions and her role and responsibilities as an ACLU ambassador. We appreciate all the work and financial contributions she's made thus far, and are more than happy to continue that in the future. Done. Doesn't mention her financial situation, doesn't mention if she's paid it or not, doesn't mention any of that. If that's what they wanted to do, she didn't do that.
No.
And I wonder if it might have been a representative from Amber's side, or even Amber herself, that said, don't you fucking tell them that I haven't paid it. This is going to make me look shit.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want Elon to keep paying all of this stuff, if you want all these people to keep giving you, how much money have I given you? Blah, 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 blah. She would have railed on that poor woman for hours. I don't know if that's a fact, but that's what it seems like she would have done.
Oh, yeah.
Because she did it to Johnny, she's done it to other people. It's just, it's within her narcissist tool belt. So narcissists, they have different things that they'll keep pulling out.
Yeah.
And they have different skills. Not every narcissist will have the same skill, but they'll all reach from the same pool.
Yeah.
And hers is one of the ones of intimidation, barragement, and threats.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if that's what she did. And because it was a phone call and not recorded, there's no proof of it.
Yeah.
And this Jessica White, she has nothing to do with this court case. She's not the representative for the ACLU.
Nope.
He is. And he most likely had no bloody idea that anything was sent out.
Nope.
I mean, look at him, Scratchy McGee.
Yeah.
He's like becoming like a cat with fleas. Bloody Nora, get a cone on this man.
Directing your attention to the email at page number ACLU 1700 from
It's just,
Ms.
I want to
Weitz
have
to
like a
Mr.
thing over here
Richard,
saying, fuck.
dated July 31. She says, I'm just stressed about her and the difficulties with all this. Who is her?
Assume that is Amber Heard.
Why is she stressed about Amber? Unless Amber has made a threat. I think I'm dead on.
Yeah.
And I'm normally right. It might sound egotistical. I don't care. In the realm of me and Stefan's lives, I'm normally right about things. Obviously, I'm not saying that you're wrong about stuff, but when I call things, I'm normally right.
Yeah.
For example, Prince Harry and Meghan Schmarkle.
Yeah, yeah.
I said to Stefan when they got married, I said, I bet you anything she'll pop out, and I'm pretty sure I said it on stream as well, long ago. I said she'll pop out a couple of kids, they'll get divorced, and she'll release a book.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I also said at one different point, she'll pop out a couple of kids, they'll go to America, and then they'll get divorced.
Yeah.
And she'll write a book saying how she survived the royals.
Yeah.
The book hasn't come out yet, but the divorce is on the table, and they moved to America, and she popped out 2 kids. I think I'm fair to say that I'm right on a lot of stuff. My ego and my self-assurance on this is quite high enough. But like, why would you be worried, stressed about a donor?
Yeah.
Unless they've made some very unpleasant comments to you in private.
Yeah.
Like, I had someone at a place that I worked before. She wanted me to do something for her, and I was busy at that point, and I said I'll do it later. And then she looked at because I had 2 screens on. She looked at my screens, and I had one I had a playlist on, and I was just changing one of the songs, so it was up. And the other one I had, like, behind that playlist, I had my actual work. And yeah, she leaned over onto my desk and said, "Jodie, do you want to tell your boss the name? Do you want to tell your boss's name about your work ethic?" And she looked at my screen, and I just saw. It took me a second, and I looked at her and, "Are you threatening me?" No, not at all. I just would like you to look at your options and maybe see if you can find time. Well, as I said before, I have time later. I'm busy now. You can see that in my diary. You coming over just means I don't have time later. If it's that urgent, you do it.
Yeah.
I'm not your assistant. And the version she told my boss was completely different to what actually happened.
Yeah.
And I had like several people who heard her.
Yeah.
But like, I was stressed. So to bring it back to, you know, what is actually going on, why this girl would be stressed about Amber, I was stressed with any meeting I had with her. Because I just didn't want to be around her. It's like when I got stressed when I had to go in meetings with my boss because my boss was just a dick. Like, she micromanaged the living shit out of me. I'm pretty sure if she could micromanage my toilet time, she would have done it. But
didn't she do that with one of the workers?
she tried doing that with me. She tried getting me to fill in basically my entire work day.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, if I had any slots that I hadn't put any time in, she's like, "What were you doing there?" Well, I was away from my desk. "And what were you doing?" "It's just so we could fill out the timetable." "Well, I was taking a shit, Nick. What do you want?" Oh, okay. Like, constant gist. She didn't trust me to do my job, but she didn't know what my job was. So when I left, I had people emailing me and calling me on my personal number, asking me where things are. And it was just like, bruh. But like, I got stressed going into meetings with my boss and this woman. If I had one meeting with both of them in, I'd be like nearly catatonic. I would be hyperventilating in the bathroom. Like, literally getting nervous, scratching my neck and all of that shit. So I can understand if she's stressed, it's because something's happened. Amber's behaviour has made her stress out.
Yeah.
Which is really sad for her, but I mean, she did lie.
Why was Ms. White stressed about Amber Heard?
Because this is a stressful thing to have these kinds of news reports out there, and in particular about an ACLU ambassador.
What kind of news reports are you referring to?
What I believe the Reuters article, from the Reuters article.
And what did the news article say that was distressing?
I think it was the tie between the attempts to make Ms. Heard look poorly in the press regarding her donations.
But did you talk to Ms. White in preparation for this deposition?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you about the donations and how she was stressed about Ms. Heard?
Ms. White's didn't say anything specific about that.
You didn't ask her about why she said she was stressed about Amber Heard and the difficulties with all this?
I believed in reviewing the documents that I had an understanding of why this was a difficult situation for many people.
No, you're dead on. He didn't see this email.
Yep.
Because he definitely would have asked her, and he probably would have chewed her out for saying it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in a written context.
Yeah.
He would have said, "They've got this now. There's nothing I can do about it. You're going to have to tell me why." And I'm not going to... He could have gone, "I'm not going to lie." But, I mean, he's like... He's not lied, but he's sugarcoated a fair amount.
Oh, yeah.
He's almost as if he's put a... like icing sugar on a turd and tried to say it was a chocolate pie.
So the answer is you didn't ask her about that, did you?
I did not ask her that
I
question.
guess we'll have to. Did you ask her about the nightmares she had about Amber Heard and why she had what the substance of her nightmares were about Amber Heard?
No, I did not.
Amber's
Your Honor,
sitting there thinking,
counsel for
I'm gonna
Ms. Heard is
poop
now
on his
taking over
bed too.
questions.
All right. Huh?
Amber's sitting there thinking, I'm gonna poop on his bed too.
She just looks dead inside.
Oh yeah.
I think she's just not had enough. I mean, look at their puffy eyes. Did she get punched there as well? Did Elaine? Did one of your cats get out of her hair? Because it does look like a fucking bee's nest.
The cat maybe was paid by Johnny.
Exhibit number 1. This is
Oh, it's fucking Elaine.
2866. It was introduced as well by counsel for Mr. Depp, but
I
it's
swear to
easier for
God,
me to
she
just jump
asks
into
about
this one. Do you
makeup,
recognize
I'm
this
gonna
document?
lose my fucking mind.
Yes.
It says here,
Just a side note, if Elaine mentions once about makeup, I'm ending the video. I'm not even skipping it. I'm ending the video. I don't care if there's 10 minutes left. I don't care if there's half an hour left. I don't care if there's 1 minute left. I'm ending the fucking video. Because every witness, bloody Elaine, has mentioned fucking makeup and I can't...
remember I described your plan to donate $3.5 million to ACLU over the next 10 years, as you very much believe in what they are doing. Now, the way in which donate is used here, how would you interpret that?
I would say that at the very least, it is expressing an intention to make that donation
And
by
it's,
the term plan.
okay. And would you distinguish between donate and pledge, given the reference to the next 10 years?
About Elon Musk's intention?
I would read this to mean that it isn't clear.
The reference to the next 10 years?
About Elon Musk's intention?
I would read this to
You could just see Ben off the side. He's like, did I make a funny one, Johnny?
Yeah.
Was that funny?
mean that it isn't clear whether this is intended to be a pledge, a legally binding pledge to create a receivable. This is something that I would want to, what I would hope would be a legally binding pledge, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this was.
Right. And the term donate here, how
Oh, hang on, it wasn't a legally binding pledge. She never signed any of the paperwork.
Nope.
So how is that? How is that any evidence? You sent her a fucking letter. I can't believe I'm defending Amber here, of all people. And what makes it worse is that Elaine is using it as a legal standpoint. It's like, but she never signed it. It is not a binding contract.
would you interpret that based on the description you gave a little earlier?
I would take donate to mean contributions from Ms. Heard.
Oh, so she didn't do it
What,
then.
if any, interpretation would you have that this also meant pledge?
So two things in response to your question. One is plan to donate. When I said it would come from Ms. Heard, I would think that would be either Ms. Heard directly or from a donor advised fund that she has set up and would recommend. But over the next 10 years makes me think that donate could theoretically be a pledge, but that's something that we would want to attempt to confirm.
And just so I understand, what's the difference between donate and pledge and how you are interpreting this?
If this used the word pledge instead, I would have more assurance that this was intended to be a hard and fast promise that even could potentially be a legally binding promise.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit Number 2.
Didn't
Do you
she
recognize
say
this
that she was
document?
going
Page
to?
2633.
Yep.
I do recognize this
She
document.
pledged a
What is your
donation.
understanding of what this is?
No.
No, wait.
This is
no, wait.
the cover letter.
She said that she's going to be donating her entire divorce settlement to the ACLU and the CHLA.
Yeah.
So she didn't technically say pledge, but I mean, they're the ones that provided the paperwork for that pledge form that was never fucking signed.
Mm.
Using it as if it's some sort of thing, and Elaine's the ones pushing pledge.
Yeah.
Like, if he's using donate, just go with that. I can't believe I'm defending Amber here. Oh my god.
To which the check for $100,000 was attached, which related to Johnny Depp's contribution to the ACLU in the name of Amber Heard.
Now, you've used the term binding a few times here in responding to these. What is your distinction with the words pledge and donate that relates specifically to binding?
A pledge is, if something is legally binding, it is a pledge, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that uses the term pledge means something that's legally binding. Donate is a much, much broader term.
And donate can mean pledge?
Yeah, I think that the word donate can be used in connection with a pledge.
See, he's
Do
more
you have any
relaxed here.
understanding of
Well, yeah, of course he is. He would have gone over this entirely with Elaine.
Yeah,
They're literally just running through things. That's all this is.
yeah.
But I find it really quite funny at how Johnny's lawyers got to him first.
Yeah,
That just shows you how inept Amber's lawyers are.
yeah.
what Amber Heard believed was a pledge versus a donation?
I don't know.
Did the ACLU have any reason to believe that Amber Heard would not pay the ACLU $3.5 million?
I think that everybody at the ACLU was hoping, the ACLU was hoping and expecting that the full 3.5 million would be paid to the ACLU. The fact that the pledge form wasn't signed cast some potential doubt on that. And then once Ms. Heard began having financial difficulties, we obviously recognized that might impact whether the full 3.5 million is paid, or impact whether it's paid over a much longer period of time in some intermittent way.
Do you have any evidence to suggest that Amber Heard still does not intend to pay the ACLU the full $3.5 million?
I have based on my investigation, I'm not aware of any indication that Ms. Heard has decided to no longer pay additional amounts to the ACLU.
I'm going to ask you to bring up number 4, please. I'm going to ask you to take a look at this document, and it starts out on the bottom with Amber on October 17, 2016 to ARP. Who's that?
That's Anthony Romero's private email, Anthony Romero private.
All right, and she's telling him to go ahead and it's all right to cash Mr. Depp's check. Do you see that?
I do.
And then Mr. Romero responds to her, says, "Thank you for the response. We will cash the check." But that means you have, quote, overpaid for this year, as you wired $350,000 and then the $100,000 from Mr. Depp. So you can keep track that where you are on the overall amounts. Do you see that?
I do.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition defendant's exhibit number 14, and it's date stamp ACLU 2588 through 89. And this is, and I realize there was a version of this that Mr. Chu showed you, but this includes an email from Mr. Romero to Jonathan Moresco, and then Mr. Moresco to Mr. Romero with a copy to Mike Weir. And it says here, "Hi, Anthony, if you get a chance on Sunday, can you please check in with Amber on her next pledge payment? She has a balance of $2.55 million on her $350,000 10-year pledge. Below is a summary of her other payments." Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And so this has the $500,000 and the $350,000 and the $100,000 on it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that was September 28, 2018. I'm going to show you what has been marked as defendant's exhibit number 15. It's date stamp 2595, and I'm going to make it larger. And if I can show you, we have an email from Mr. Romero saying, "Is there anything I can do to help facilitate pledge payment of $350,000?" And it's dated November 27, 2018. Do you see that?
I do.
All right. And then Amber comes back on 11/29 and says, "Hang on, I'll be right with you." You see that?
Correct. Yeah, I see it.
Okay. And then the $350,000 payment came in on December 11, 2018, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that made a total of, what, 1.3 million, we've decided, right? What was the total amount of the donations after the 12/11/2018 that were made towards Ms. Heard's $3.5 million pledge to ACLU?
1.3 million.
All right. Now, if Ms. Heard had just given $350,000 each year, what would the amount have been as of December 2018?
1,550,000. It would be 350,000, 350,000, 350,000. So that's 1,050,000.
Okay. And so she was effectively $250,000 ahead of that as of December 2018, correct?
Objection.
After Mr. Depp filed suit against Amber Heard on March 1, 2019, what, if any, payments did Ms. Heard make to the ACLU
Oh dear.
towards her $0.5 million pledge?
No additional payments.
No, this was also shown to you by Mr. Chu on one of his documents. It's ACLU document 3037, the 12/11/2018 $350,000 donation from Amber Heard Anonymous. Do you see that?
I do.
Now, the ACLU continues to recognize Amber Heard as an ambassador for the ACLU. Is that correct?
We do. She continues to be listed on our website.
May a donor deduct a donation before they actually make the payment to the ACLU?
No. Yeah, a deduction cannot be taken prior to when the deduction is made. A deduction is taken with respect to a tax year, so the deduction would have to be made within a tax year in order for it to be deducted that year.
Okay. Now, you also testified earlier about different sources of donations, and you said that someone can make a donation in honor to fulfill someone else's pledge. Do you recall that testimony?
A person can make a donor in honor of someone else. And when I said in honor of a person, I was more referring to, in memory of a person or in honor of, a new executive director of an organization. People make donations in honor of them. But a person certainly can make a gift and say that I would like to make this gift to the organization because I know that this other person has committed something to the organization and I'd like to pay that amount. A person can do that.
Now,
You could have just said, no, that's not what I said, and that's not what I meant. This is what I meant. That's all he had to say.
Yep.
Fucking Elaine trying to conflate things. Because she knows that Amber didn't fucking pay those, Elon.
Yep.
was it your understanding with the letter from Mr. White that Mr. Depp was making a $100,000 payment on behalf of Amber Heard towards her $3.5 million pledge?
Yes, that gift from was in connection with the amounts that Amber had said that she wanted to contribute to the organization.
All right, and it's been your testimony, I think, that there was an error in not including that in your sales force. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, is it also your understanding that Elon Musk made the $500,000 payment towards Amber Heard's $3.5 million pledge?
Yes, we don't know that with absolute certainty, but that is our organization's understanding.
Okay. And you credited it towards Ms. Heard's pledge, correct?
Yes.
Does it matter to the ACLU where it comes from if it's tagged and said it's as part of this person's pledge?
We are always happy to receive funds from donors, and if a donor is unable to make a contribution of an amount that they said they intended to make, if they're able to have someone else make a contribution to the organization, that's completely fine by us.
It's still more money to ACLU, correct?
Correct.
And it's towards a pledge that you're hoping you can count on, correct?
Toward a pledge in the weak form of it, which is that somebody's making an intention, it would not be able to be satisfied in connection with a legally binding pledge.
Well, you did credit the $500,000 towards Amber Heard's pledge, correct?
Yes, we did.
And although you didn't initially credit the $100,000 payment by Mr. Depp towards her pledge, you agree that that should have been credited towards Amber Heard's pledge as well, correct?
Correct.
Now, we saw a document that Mr. Chu showed you a short while ago that indicated that Elon Musk made some other significant contributions, including $1 million and $5 million that were separate and apart from the $500,000, correct? Is that
correct?
Okay. Now, Mr. Chu asked you if the ACLU benefited from the fact that Amber Heard pledged or donated the $3.5 million. And I think your answer was that you benefit whenever there's donations made and the publicity associated with it. What, if any, benefit would the ACLU have had if Amber Heard pledged or donated $1.3 million as opposed to $3.5 million?
If I understand your question correctly, I think that it is always a positive thing to report on donations made to the ACLU.
Mr. Dougherty, you testified to a number of documents about the op-ed and the back and forth with the attorneys and everything else. Are you aware of any evidence at any stage of the op-ed drafts through publication that Amber Heard did not rely on her counsel's advice?
from what I know, Ms. Heard involved her attorneys and made changes to the op-ed based on the advice of her attorneys.
And so my question is, are you aware of any evidence that would suggest that Amber Heard did not rely on the advice of her attorneys?
Based on my investigation, I'm not aware of a situation where she did not rely on her attorneys.
Thank you. And I'm going to make a reference to their exhibit number 31. This is, it's just called Exhibit 31. And Mr. Chu put it down. Jerry Johnson was writing an email, and he listed a number of topics. Was it your understanding that the ACLU chose a number of those topics, of course, subject to Amber's approval, but it was their idea on some of these issues to address in the op-ed?
My understanding is that those were ACLU issues that Jerry Johnson came up with that might have been issues that could be covered in the op-ed.
All right. I assume for your next witness is a remote witness, correct? And
Well, I tried to find, I know it's out there somewhere, but my phone is a pile of shit, and it's annoying me. I tried to find exactly when the divorce, the settlement started. So Johnny Depp's payments to Amber Heard, of which the first payments, so the one to the ACLU and CHLA, the 100,000 that he sent. I'm wondering when that started. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, that was Terrance, the representative of the ACLU. Absolutely
The squirming sir.
he just was internally screaming the entire time that he had to deal with these questions from Elaine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
It was a bit funny.
I mean, it's just the little dig that Ben Chu managed to get in. And then Elaine trying. I think the best parts was this woman, Jess White, that was stressing out and had nightmares about Amber Heard. And the fact that she lied to the press to cover Amber's arse on her pledge. As well as Elaine trying to conflate pledge and donation, that they could be interchangeable, as well as, well, other people can donate on their behalf, can they not? Is that what you testified earlier? Please say yes. It's like, didn't say that, Elaine. He never said that, Elaine. What are you talking about, Elaine? But yeah, we hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for who is it? Who's tomorrow? Yeah. I have a list. Not right in front of me. Although it is right in front of me. Edward White. Oh, I think that might be Johnny Depp's attorney. Oh, not attorney. Finance dude.
Yeah.
I think. Not 100%. But yeah. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. And if we don't, then have a wonderful time with whatever on earth you do. And hopefully we'll see you another time. Bye guys.
Bye bye.